my daughter, Liz, was very young, numerous times I observed that she would wake up in the morning smarter than she was the night before. She would know words, have concepts in the morning that she was nowhere near able to express the night before, the day before. And I was just blown away by this. And I'd ask her, I go, what have you been doing all night? Have you been sleeping or have you been studying? You know? She just looked at me like, what are you talking about? You know, what do you even mean? It was pretty funny. She had no idea that she didn't know this stuff that she knew in the morning that she had not known it the night before. It was perfectly natural and normal for her, as it is for us all. Yes? Anybody else have this experience raising kids or watching children? You know, just like the learning is not smooth like this, right? Now, you know, you got to do your homework, right? You're picking up stuff. It's all going inside of you, all the raw material. But then when it manifests in conscious knowledge, it's like this. It's a quantum leap. See Colleen back there nodding, school teacher. She knows wherever we speak here. It's a quantum phenomenon, not a smooth curve of learning. I experienced this myself. I was, for a number of years, spending a lot of time working with undocumented people from Mexico, up in the Palo Alto area, East Palo Alto, Redwood City area. And it was way past time for me to learn Spanish, so I signed up for a Spanish course, same place Linda went here, actually, Instituto de Idiomas Benjamin Franklin in Morelia, Michoacan in Mexico. About the same time, we were not far apart actually in that school, which was great. So I went down to spend a month of intensive Spanish training, which did not leave me perfectly fluent, but it did bump me up enough where I could communicate and understand a lot. But it was the same thing. It wasn't a smooth learning curve, you know. It was punctuated. And a very important punctuation was the morning I woke up and realized that I had dreamed in Spanish. I go, oh, okay. And that next day I felt much more, yeah, I have a bunch of nods here. I just felt a lot more capable of understanding and communicating in the language. It was bing, like that, right? A quantum leap. And of course, we heard so many stories of scientists who go through this too, right? Who they do their homework, they're doing their research, they're studying like mad, they're working hard, but their discovery doesn't come on a smooth curve. They're preparing assiduously, but then, bing, suddenly they wake up with an insight. And they go, oh, that's what's going on. Like the discovery of DNA, you know, that was in a dream, right? Just the image of the structure came to the scientist in a dream. Woke up and, okay, let's get busy. Starts to map it out. And that's how we had that insight. So many stories of scientific discoveries and revolutions that come in this fashion. You know, when the insight finally comes, it feels like it came out of nowhere. But of course it didn't. You know, it was in there. All the raw material was in there all along. Think of the turning points in your lives, yeah? When you've been stewing about something and dealing with a problem or an issue, and then all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and go, I know exactly what I need to do. You know, it's like, now I get it. Now I know what I must do. This didn't come out of nowhere, right? There was preparation involved, but your experience of it feels like a burst, a sudden epiphany. And what that suggests is that there's a lot going on inside of us that we don't know about. There's a lot of knowledge that we have that we don't know, if that makes any sense. There's a philosopher science, Michael Polanyi, a Hungarian physicist, actually, who became more of a philosopher. He wrote a book I read years ago that I really enjoyed. It's called The Tacit Dimension. And the punchline of the whole book was, we know more than we can tell. We know more than we can tell. And you have this sense, don't you, sometimes like, oh, I think I know what I need to do, but you haven't got the words yet, right? You don't have the words yet, but you feel it. It's coming. It's sort of like the tip of the tongue phenomenon, right? You feel it bubbling in there. You know, but you don't know that you know. You don't have the words to express what you know quite yet. And then they come, and then there's clarity. So it just reminds us of how much is going on inside of us that we don't have conscious knowledge of, that we do have an unconscious dimension to us, and there's a lot going on in there. And it's important to open ourselves to consciousness of it as much as we can, because what it suggests is that there are unconscious forces within us that can bubble up into behavior that maybe we don't want, right? Oh, baby. And I think there was a period in my, some years ago when there was a whole lot of family drama going on, and I had no idea just how pissed off I was. But then every so often I would explode, just like be loud. And I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? Wow, that's not me, is it? Well, yes, it is me. It's my unconscious needing to come out, just coming out in an unpleasant way, right? Not the way I wanted it to come out. So to work on that, to work on bringing up to consciousness our unconscious dimension is very, very, very important project and task, right? And so many ways to get there, of course, through therapy, that's huge. But another way is what we do here. What we do here. Because what we do here is we have this treasure chest of stories and images from our religious tradition. And these treasures come from the unconscious dimension within us. Yeah? They are natural things built into us, wired into us. As Tertullian said, 2,000 years ago, he says, the testimony of the soul is the testimony of nature. And the testimony of nature, as expressed through the soul, is reflected in, given a form and a language through the Christian tradition. This is, I think, a pretty important thing to recognize. It's the truth of Christianity is not propositional. It's not like 2 + 2 = 4. The truth of Christianity is that it's a remarkable mirror of our unconscious, the structures of our unconscious minds. It's natural, right? It's built in. And the proof I found for this was in my work with homeless folks all those years, working with the unhoused, many of whom had severe mental illnesses and suffered from psychoses. And what I discovered was that I met, in the course of my work through those years, I met, maybe a dozen or a couple dozen Jesuses. Okay? These are folks who are Jesus. Like one incident in particular that stands out for me that was really instructive about this whole issue is at our drop-in center, we had a team of volunteers. And we had several from Menlo Park Presbyterian Church, big evangelical church in the Palo Alto area. And one of the volunteers, very devoted, terrific volunteer, very dedicated, young guy on the staff of the church. He showed up all the time. He was great. But one day, he takes me aside. He says, Jim, I need to talk to you about something. I go, cool, let's talk. And he says, I just want to know, why aren't you imparting the gospel to these people? I go, well, for one thing, we're interfaith, so there's that, right? We don't preach here. That's not cool. That's not what we're about. We're here to serve everybody across religious and spiritual lines. And our volunteers come from all backgrounds. And that's just not something we do here. And he goes, but but it's the name of the organization was Urban Ministry. But this is a ministry, right? And I go, yeah. Anyway, he's carrying on with me, trying to convince me that we should evangelize to these folks. And finally, I turned to him and I go, it's very interesting that you would bring this up on this particular day. He goes, really? And I go, yeah, because if you look over there on the other end of our drop-in center, see that 6'4" tall guy back there hopping up and down like this, holding a floppy evangelical Bible like this, reading aloud from it loudly. And this young fellow suffered from schizophrenia. And so I turned to the earnest young evangelical and I said, tell you what, today I'm going to make an exception. Today I would invite you to go over and talk to this gentleman and who believes that he is Jesus Christ more than I believe that I'm Jim Burklo. Okay, he's much more convinced that he's Jesus than I'm convinced that I am who I am. I said, so help yourself, go on over there and see if you can convert Jesus to Jesus, and let me know how it goes. And it was just one of those beautiful teaching moments, one of those magic moments. And this young guy just he looks over at the guy hopping up and down like that. He goes, and he just never heard from him about the subject again. And no, he did not go over there and try to convert Jesus to Jesus. But anyway, as we were parting, I go, I beckon the young guy over to me, I go, and by the way, everybody here is Jesus. Everybody is the Christ. Right? Everybody is the Christ. Because Jesus said, if you give a cup of water to the least of these my children, you have given it to me. So that's what we do here, and that's who everybody's the Christ. And his eyes are bugging out like, well, you could just see all the wires frying in his evangelical brain. It was a moment. But the thing is, it's like that was just one person that I knew intimately who believed that they were Jesus or some form thereof. We had another gentleman there who was actually this is the tragedy of all this is just how, these are people that caring, good humans that suffer from a tough thing, right? And this guy was always helping out. He was a devoted volunteer, but he talked to himself, and, I could tell something was up. And then he disappeared for months. I go, well, what happened to Bob? And somebody said, oh, he's in Milpitas jail. I go, geez, that guy is like, what's he doing in jail? And you know what? There's way too many people suffering from these problems in the jailhouse, which is not where they belong. Anyhow, a few months later, he shows up, and I say, well, where are you? I heard you were down in Milpitas. What's up? And he goes, well, Jim, I trust you. I think I'll explain to you why. So he gives me a manila envelope with a thick document in it with numbers for each line, like a legal document. And it was his defense of himself in court for driving without a driver's license. And his argument, which was beautifully, flawlessly laid out in just perfect legalese English, flawless presentation. His argument was that he was an ambassador of Christ. Because St. Paul said, we are ambassadors of Christ. And the thing to remember is in the ancient world, still today in a way, an ambassador was considered the personage of the king, right? One and the same. You treat the ambassador the way you would treat the king that the ambassador represents. That's the whole head trip around ambassadors, right? And that's the mysticism, if you will, of Paul's statement. Anyway, he says, and this guy basically saying, because I'm an ambassador, I'm exempt from having to have a driver's license. And we laugh, but no, this is not a laughing matter. This is serious. This was the experience that he had. And what you see here is that the Christ figure is built into the psyche of all of us. These folks were not religious before they had a psychotic break, necessarily. Most of them weren't. But when they went into that mode, suddenly the unconscious structure of their being became visible, right? And if you had the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you could see this structure. The experience of a lot of people suffering from mental illness is that not that they have broken down, but that the world has broken down, and that they've been sent to redeem it and save it as individuals. Right? Does that sound familiar? It's the gospel, right? So it's built in, like Tertullian said. The testimony of the soul is the testimony of nature, because this is the wiring that we were born with. So the scripture stories, they're not factual in a historical sense, but they are true in the fact that they reflect our inner experience. Now, who knows? At some point, with all the advancements going on in brain science, maybe we'll see some scientific evidence of the structure of the psyche. Meanwhile, we do well to take it seriously. Carl Jung said, although our whole world of religious ideas consists of anthropomorphic, human images that could never stand up to rational criticism, we should never forget that they are based on numinous archetypes, that is, structures in the psyche that have spiritual power. We're dealing with psychic facts which logic can overlook but not eliminate. Religious statements are psychic confessions. Agnosticism maintains that it does not possess any knowledge of God or anything metaphysical, overlooking the fact that one never possesses a metaphysical belief, but is possessed by it. That's a statement, huh? Like, we make a big deal. Do you believe in this or do you believe in that? And Jung is saying, hello, this isn't about deciding to believe something. This is about stuff that's built into you, right? Are you in touch with it or not? Are you conscious of this unconscious dimension or not? And if you want to live a life of kindness, goodness, and caring, you need to be aware of that dimension. And to see what's within and to understand what's within. And I think if we can see with what's within, then we can have compassion for people, a deeper level of compassion and understanding for people whose unconscious dimension is exploding in ways that are hard for them to control. Because then we realize this is not just in them, this is in all of us. It's part of who we are. So let us use our Christian tradition, put it to work for us to bring us into consciousness about that which is unconscious. Yes? and to use our stories and rituals to enlighten us and make us more aware. And one way to do that is through the ritual of communion, right? That in the bread that the Christ broke and shared, in this bread we will find union with the divine. We will get in touch inside this bread with what's inside of us. And that through the wine that Jesus lifted up at the Last Supper, we will get in touch and taste the mysterious, unconscious, if you will, processes that go on in the cask of grape juice that ferments into wine. All sorts of mysterious stuff is going on inside of that wine cask. I worked in a winery for a while when I was in college and learned a lot, and was taught by the maintenance supervisor at the winery all about the intricacies of wine. He just said, wine is a mysterious substance, he told me. It's the only thing that's nearly as complicated as wine is human blood. And so let us enter into the mystery that is within us each and all by sharing in the elements of the communion that Jesus put before us.